We got some big time game 2 tee-ups. Who's starting in net for the Devils? Who should start in net for the Oilers? We're going to break it all down on Friday's episode of the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast. Thank you for joining us.
You're Locked On Fantasy Hockey, your daily podcast on fantasy hockey. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back inside the lab, everybody, and happy Friday. It is the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast, and thank you for making us your first listen every single day. The fantasy hockey season has passed, but the playoffs are heating up in a very big way, Steele. And then we got to also take a look out west for the Edmonton Oilers goaltending situation. Are they going to be turning back to potentially Jack Campbell? Or is it Stuart Skinner back in the cage? We're going to talk about that as well, Steele. And, of course, big-time bets. A lot of things in between that you and I have seen from both of these series. I'm excited to talk about it. What about these Carolina Hurricanes, though? Starting to flex their muscle, and there's a few things I want to talk about here as well. But what about your take on who the Devils go with in Game 2 here Friday night?
Yeah, I think it should be Akira Schmid. I think he's earned that right for the New Jersey Devils. You know, coming in the first round, you know, in exchange for Vitek Vanacek and standing tall on his head. He only had one bad game, 5 goals against in that first round against the Rangers, but he's earned the right. And he made 8 saves on 11 shots. It's not great by any means in Game 1 against the Hurricanes, but he only had one bad goal. If you look at the actual goals themselves, the first goal by Brett Pesce, there was 8 guys standing in front of Akira Schmid screening him. There was no possible way that any goaltender would be able to see that puck. So can't blame him on that. He was screened by so many guys. And even on the second goal for the Hurricanes, your boy, Seth Jarvis, just absolutely roofed it.
Having a good series, too.
He's having a good series, and he's having a good postseason at that as well. So I don't blame him for the first 2 goals. I think there's a question on, you know, a little bit of, he was out of the crease a little bit too far. He pushed himself too far on that third goal from Kotkaniemi. But yeah, 8 saves on 11 shots isn't good enough, but I don't think by any means it was his fault. If you look at the team as a whole, they only had 1 shot after the first period. They had 9 shots through the first 2 periods. So the offensive group wasn't there for the New Jersey Devils. You know, defensively, they came out very flat. They were nowhere to be found in the first half of the game. They actually scored on their second shot, 5 minutes into the second period. So they weren't getting any offensive zone time. They weren't getting any pucks to the net. The defensive group as a whole just wasn't there. Again, they were flat. They were chasing the puck. The Hurricanes really just took it right to them. So, you know, Vitek Vanacek, it's great to see him back in the crease because obviously he wants to be there. But Akira Schmid earned that right, and he still has earned that right to start in Game 2.
He's just been on such a special heater. You got to still stick with the hot hand. And I think I agree with you on the breakdown of the goals. So I don't even need to rehash what happened. It was the right move to pull him, though. You got to try and salvage every single situation. And sometimes it's just that energy. I say you go back to him. He's been the hot hand. And I think his numbers have proved it. .935 save percentage, Steele. 1.84 goals against, and he was really the main reason that I think the tides turned for the New Jersey Devils, and that's right at the top of my notes here. Aside from that balanced attack from the Hurricanes, which I think that deserves some credit because you and I talked a lot about knowing that the Hurricanes' Achilles heel was maybe not being able to pour on that offensive attack, and now they're getting it done from a bunch of different characters, a bunch of different lines. And, of course, from the back end, which we know is essential for this team as well. So those things are happening. But here we go, Steele, with the New Jersey Devils, maybe lack of experience starting to show a little bit. Is that a thing? I don't know, because I think they might bounce back in Game 2. We're going to talk a little bit about that in big-time bets. Here's my main takeaway. I think it's got to be Schmid, however you say it. But Freddie Anderson starting for the Carolina Hurricanes again was my other thing I wanted to highlight and ask you. I think they should have been going with Freddie the whole time. I don't think it was a mistake to go with Ronta. I just think Freddie has earned that right as the younger, more skilled goaltender. I think he's having a great postseason. In his last 2 starts, he's proved it.
That was the crazy thing. I forgot to mention that in yesterday's episode that Frederik Andersen, only after playing 2 games this postseason, was like top 10 in Conn Smythe trophy voting or Conn Smythe trophy odds there.
Yeah.
It was very weird to see. But to me, I don't think it's been a mistake by Brind'Amour whatsoever to start Antti Raanta in that first round series. I think the coaching staff realized that they have 2 incredible goaltenders. Yeah, Frederik Andersen, if you look at his overall track record, he is the starting goaltender. But when you've got 2 guys that come in and over the last few years have put up the numbers they have full faith, full trust in their guys.
Sure.
So I understand.
And it's working out, right? It's working.
I would have rather seen Frederik Andersen in the first round too, but they know their goaltender. So I don't think it was a mistake, but Antti Raanta had a bad game to put Andersen in the game. He comes in, he closes out that first round series, and he plays great in game 1 against the Devils.
.917 save percentage and a 2.49 goals against in his career of 55 postseason game steal. He took way too much unfair heat in the Toronto market as a goaltender who couldn't get it done. He wasn't the reason that those teams couldn't get out of the first round, and we don't need to go back down that avenue. We're going to talk a lot more about Leafs next week, but here's the thing. Freddie's been solid in his career. I think this is going to come down to the goaltenders, and very quickly before maybe we head to break, I don't know, we're going to come back and talk about the Oilers and big time bets and the Knights, of course. But there's just a lot of parallels I'm starting to see between these series. And that's what I wanted to mention because, yes, we're talking about who should start for the Devils. I think we're clear on that. We're going to talk about who should start for the Oilers. But also the other thing that I saw from both teams that won game 1s here that we're talking about before we talk about everything else, the balanced attacks. Look at that Vegas Golden Knights balanced attack, the balanced attack on the Carolina Hurricanes side. So some of these parallels are starting to be eerily similar, and maybe that means these are the teams that are built to win. I don't know. Just throwing that out there. We're going to come back if you're okay. I'll go to break here, and we'll come back and talk about the Oilers and Golden Knights. But I think we're about to see maybe a bit of a goaltending duel in that Hurricanes and Devils series, and I think I might be betting some unders. Tease to the bets at the end of the show. Today's episode is brought to you by eBay Motors, and for a championship team, it's all about making sure every player is the perfect fit, and it's the exact same when it comes to your vehicle. Every part needs to fit just right. So the next time you need parts and accessories, head over to eBay Motors. With eBay Guaranteed Fit, you can be sure every part fits right the first time round. Just add to your ride in my garage and look for the green check to know the part will fit or your cash back. Because just like in sports, confidence is the name of the game. And when you shop at eBay Motors, with over 122 million parts to choose from, you'll be back in the game in no time. After all, it's easy to bring home a win when the right parts are guaranteed. Get the right parts, the right fit, the first time round, and the right prices on ebaymotors.com. Let's ride. eBay, guaranteed fit, only available to U.S. customers. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
And thank you so much for making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast your first listen every single day. Don't forget, we are free and available on your favorite podcast platforms, including YouTube. So make sure you hit the subscribe, hit the follow button, leave us a review on Apple and Spotify as well. We appreciate all the feedback, and don't be afraid to leave any comments on the YouTube channel or DM us at LO_Fantasy NHL on Twitter. Reach out to our personals as well if you want any advice, any questions, or just want to connect with us. We appreciate all the feedback, like I said. But let's get over to the Vegas Golden Knights, Edmonton Oilers. We will get to big time bets at the end of the episode. But I want to throw it over to you first because I know
appreciate
you're more on this team than I am for the Edmonton Oilers. You're more on with Stuart Skinner. And it looks like that he's starting to feel the pressure a little bit. Like you said, a well-balanced attack from that forward group and forward core for the Vegas Golden Knights. Not even just the forward group, even the defensemen jumping in on the plays as much as possible. It seems like Stuart Skinner's feeling it a little bit.
I think that's a fair thing to be said, Steele, and there is going to be pressure coming along with your first postseason opportunity to be that guy. Unfortunately, I think there's one thing we know about Jack Campbell. If we know anything, he does not perform well under pressure. And mentally, he's a guy that lets the game and the emotions get to him. He said it himself. This isn't me creating a false narrative. And unfortunately, I agree with you, but you got to go back to Skinner because he's already proven to be the better goaltender, in my opinion. No disrespect to Jack Campbell, even though I don't know how much respect he's earned, to be honest. He's a number 2. He's a solid number 2. He's a good option who can go on a streak for you if your top guy goes down. But I know Skinner has been rough still. He's going to bounce back in a big way. 883 save percentage is ugly. 3.68 goals against is ugly, and he's got to be a lot better. And I'll leave it at this before I throw it back to you. I mentioned the balanced attack on Vegas. Credit due. And credit due to the front office for 2 reasons. Barbashev, great addition at the deadline, already paying off in spades. And let's circle back on something that you have said at length. So credit due to you. Jack Eichel is really starting to show that he can be a clutch performer. Yep. And I think you were going to mention that anyway, so we'll leave that take for you. Credit due to the front office. Yes, the players are getting it done on the ice, but this is now the GM and the president. I think it's McPhee still in there, getting it done. They need some credit due because all these pieces are working. And what's the proof in the pudding? How many goalies have they been playing this year? 5? And all of them have been pretty good. GM, front office, credit due, and the Oilers need a big-time performance from Stuart Skinner, and they waste Leon Draisaitl's 4-piece.
Yeah, that was absolutely incredible to watch in itself. Just crazy back-to-back nights. Joe Pavelski goes out, scores 4 goals for the Dallas Stars. Next night, Leon Draisaitl.
This playoff has been amazing.
It's been unreal. I think I heard them say that it was the first time ever in the regular or postseason that 2 players scored 4 goals back-to-back and both teams lost. Just incredible in itself that 2 players scored 4 goals each and then still lost the game in that fashion. So kind of weird, but yeah, it's been a crazy playoff so far. And, I will get to my take on, Jack Campbell and Stuart Skinner, but honestly, just from what I saw from the Edmonton Oilers overall from that game, it was a horrific effort in the defensive zone the entire game. Some of the worst man-on-man coverage I've seen all year long. The defensemen were giving players so much time and so much space when entering the zone. Nobody was boxing out Ivan Barbashev on his goal in front of the net. He was just standing there by himself. There was no one around him within 3 feet. So I didn't like the defensive play from everybody for the Edmonton Oilers. I thought overall just terrible team effort. But you and I are going to have a goalie problem here again. I think if Jay Woodcroft is smart, he goes in with Jack Campbell in net for game 2. And I understand that it's a difficult situation because Jack Campbell, the contract that you signed him to, he didn't live up to the expectations in the regular season. Obviously, Stuart Skinner has been the guy so far this playoffs, but Campbell does have more experience than Skinner. And I understand that when you've got a guy who struggled as much as Jack Campbell, and now you've got Skinner, who you already listed off the stats, an 883 save percentage, a 368 goals against average in 7 games in the playoffs. It's not good. So it's a difficult decision to pan out who you're going to go with. Ooh. And I'm not trying to, I'm not going to go in length for this debate with you because I get it. It's a difficult decision. But I would go Jack Campbell because he has that more experience. And from what I've seen from Stuart Skinner, especially from that game 1, is when you need your goalie the most to make a big save or come up in the clutch. Again, this goes back to how bad they were in the defensive zone. He just wasn't there. You go back, the Edmonton Oilers scored the first goal of the game. Not even 2 minutes later, Vegas ties it up. And then you go to the third period. Edmonton is down 3-2 to enter the third period. Leon scores his hat-trick goal. Not even 2 minutes go by, and it's back up. The Vegas Golden Knights are back up by 2 goals, and they're up 5-3. So you need your goalie to bounce back or keep you in the game, especially once you've tied the game or you're in the lead, and he just hasn't been that all series long or all postseason long. So for me, I would go with Jack Campbell, and then again, on top of that, one of the biggest liabilities for the Edmonton Oilers right now is Vincent Desharnais. He has been the worst defenseman in the playoffs the entire postseason so far, and it's not even a question.
Yeah, and here's a few things, and this is why I'm going to disagree with you just for this reason. One, Skinner's been the better goalie far and away the whole season. And if you're talking about needing a big save, you're right. But Jack Campbell has not been the guy to give that to him all year, and I don't have any confidence in that his ability to do that right now.
Your lack of confidence in Jack Campbell is the same lack of confidence I have in Stuart Skinner. Like, you and I feel the same way, just for different.
The thing is, though, that's weird, because how clear in a way Skinner has been so much better over the whole year. And look, you pointed out the main reason why probably some of those numbers are inflated. Cody Ceci, Desharnais, Kulak, they've been awful steals. So look, maybe they need to switch it up. That might not be a bold take. But at the end of the day, this is the main reason why you don't do this. Because if you do, you're sewering any confidence Skinner had, and you have to ride with Campbell. After that, you have to ride with Campbell. You can't flip back and forth with how fragile, clearly, this goaltender is. I just think here's the main problem. Connor McDavid's got to start to score goals. This is how this team wins, and the power play needs to be better. We talked about it at the onset of the series. The number one power play going against what? I think they were the 16th best PK. That's where it really falls. I think maybe the goaltending situation might be a bit more subjective. I just really don't have that confidence in Jack Campbell. I don't know why you do all of a sudden, but it's going to be a great game too. And I think the Oilers just need to play a lot better.
Yeah, and moving forward for game 2 as well, one other thing I saw and realized from watching SportsCenter and Sportsnet and all of those other highlights to get your highlights, Jay Woodcroft needs to stop screwing around. Ryan Rishaug, who covers the Edmonton.
I don't like Jay Woodcroft, by the way. Just me personally.
I don't know. Something bugs me about him, but the way he's been coaching the last couple of games has not been it for me. You go back to what we saw in the first round series against the LA Kings and how they practice, and that, even going back to the last few practices before game 1, is they had Leon Draisaitl and Connor McDavid playing on the same line together.
Right.
They had them playing together on a line in practice 2 days straight. And then the start of game 1, you have Leon Draisaitl and you've got Connor McDavid on separate lines. So you're mix and matching the lines from what they were practicing with.
But
why are you doing that?
To be fair, that doesn't make sense. I agree. Maybe it's like a tactic to try and throw off the opposition. I don't know. But all year they were playing separate and they played amazing.
Yeah.
So I don't know why you're trying to tinker with it. I'm fully agreeing with you. Jay Woodcroft comes right from the AHL to the NHL. What's he in his third season? Third season. I'm not the biggest fan, but I don't think I'm going to pin that game 1 performance on Woodcroft completely, although it's a caveat. And I think at the end of it all, Steele, and I'd like you to take us to break so we can talk about, we got bets for Friday and for Saturday, people. Stay tuned. I got a big flip triple dip, my first one of the postseason for Saturday's action. But honestly, I think it comes down to McDavid for me. I don't mean to sound like a simple Simon over here. It's just, he could be so much better, and you got Boissat holding it down, and I just think he's right for the picking. You know what I'm saying? Let's pepper that guy with even just one Oiler makes one other goal. That game could go the other way. If you're Draisaitl in the locker room, you're like, boys, what else do I got to do here?
I get that, but I'm gonna correlate this to the NBA and Steph Curry in the playoffs.
Good word.
When you've got Steph Curry in the playoffs, and I'm seeing it right now with the Lakers, they're double teaming every day. When you've got the best point guard in the league and you're going up against them,
I actually like the Lakers in that series.
I like the Lakers as well. Side note, I'm with you there. But when you've got the best player in the series, you've got to double team him. You've got to put the pressure on him. And that's what the Vegas Golden Knights and LA Kings have done so well. So I don't think it has to be Connor obviously you would love Connor McDavid to score some more goals, but he's setting up his teammates still. He's doing great on the power play.
Fair.
He's still getting it done. And that's what he has to do, because he knows that he's going to be covered majority of the game. He's not going to get those grade A chances. I think, he needs to do he needs to use a little bit more of his speed through the neutral zone like he did so well in the regular season. But that's why Leon Draisaitl is open so much, because they're covering Connor McDavid.
Good point. No, I'm here for it. I'm here for that.
I'm with you. He needs to score. I like that point. To see him score a couple more goals, but nonetheless, the whole team has to come together as a group offensively.
And maybe it's just because it's the obvious take to say that if he could come through with a couple of those, these games have probably gone differently, and they might have gone through that first round a little quicker as well.
Yeah.
And I am invested in that Oilers team. I think I got a 40 future bet on that paid out like 6 or 7 hun. I'll post that on the Twitter account. Make sure you're following us on there. And like Steele said, hit us in the DMs, hit us in the comments. We're always looking for feedback. If you're on Spotify or Apple, make sure you drop that 5-star review, baby.
Yeah, and thank you guys so much for making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast your first listen every single day. Don't forget, we are free and available on your favorite podcast platform, including YouTube. So make sure you go hit the subscribe, hit the follow button. We appreciate all you listeners every single day tuning into the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast show. And with that being said, let's get over to big time bets where the money is made. Flip, I heard you say you got a flip triple dip coming up. I hit my flip triple dip the other day in that Hurricanes Devils game. Sebastian Aho, anytime assist, under 6.5, and Hurricanes on the money line, 3 for 3 in that game. So Hurricanes and Devils again, Friday night, game 2 action. Hurricanes at home. I'll throw it over to you, big guy. Who do you got?
Appreciate
and
that.
What's your picks?
Well, I think that this Devils team has already far and away overachieved this year, and I mean it in the best kind of way. Nobody expected them to be this good this quick. We knew it was coming.
Yeah.
We liked all those offseason additions, and I think it still boils down to Hughes, Heishier, Hamilton, the Triple H, making their team as good as they've been by being healthy. And this team, I think, is going to be a force to be reckoned with for a number of seasons in the Eastern Conference, anchored by those exact players and others. But I'm feeling the Hurricanes to take the second game here, Steele. They're just a really good, defensively first-minded team, and they're experienced. And I don't think this is one of those things where, like, this is just a simple cocktail. Getting good goaltending, a veteran. Defense is getting their points and stopping the opposition, and they're starting to get some balanced scoring from all the lines and the guys we thought they had to. Kotkaniemi, that's a key for me, and he's been pretty good the last couple of games. I'm going with the Hurricanes on the money line. You're also getting a really good price at -115, and I got one more pick, but I'll throw it back over to you for your thoughts on that one.
Yeah, no, I'm with you in that situation as well. I think the first thing and the only thing you really have to look at is the Hurricanes are playing at home. They're so good at home in the postseason. That's all you have to worry about, really.
I think they sent a message in game 1 as well. They're not playing around, and they're ready for the conference championship already.
I think that too. And you know what? I don't want to, give any doubt towards the Devils at all, because
that's
going back to the first round, because they got smoked in the first 2 games 5-1 and then came back
and they beat a really good Rangers
and they did team. And the Rangers obviously just played like garbage as well, anyways. Hurricanes at home. Hurricanes at home on the money line. I'm there with you. I've also got the under in this game. I'm with you in that situation well. Go under 6.5. It was under 6.5 game 1. I think it could pretty much be almost the same outcome, maybe a 4-2 instead of a 5-1. Nonetheless, go the under. And then I've actually got a Jack Hughes anytime goal for my lock of the night. I think he needs to be a lot better than what we saw in game 1. I think
it's a bit bold, but I like it.
He realizes that too. And he had his chances. He had a few chances, but I think Jack Hughes is going to step up in a big way for the Devils.
This is a little fantasy sidebar because I've been already kind of digging into some options for my team next year, Steele. And I don't mean to give away things because I know some of my opposition like to listen in on my episodes, and then they like to send me a trade offer for the players I've spoken about. Little in the wobbly plop hour, 7 p.m. Eastern to 10 p.m. Eastern when that first wave of games are on. So I don't want to give away too much. But I really think Jack Hughes is on the cusp of being – I could see him leading the league in points, Steele, if he can stay healthy. He's just such a good, talented skater, and I know that's a tall task. Anyway, let's not go down that route just yet. But I'm with you on Jack Hughes has to respond because when he's on his game, his skating ability is what really turns me on about this player. And I think he is a special one. But if this Jersey team wants any shot at beating this good – balanced Carolina team, Hughes is going to need to go on a heater, I think.
He probably will have to offensively. Those are the picks for Friday night. Saturday night, though. Edmonton Oilers, Vegas Golden Knights getting the extra night off. That's the only game for Saturday. So 1 game Friday, 1 game Saturday, Vegas Golden Knights and the Edmonton Oilers.
Yes, sir.
I honestly, I don't even know for game 2 because I
Okay.
have the.
Would you like me to take it away?
You take it away. You take it away.
Okay. Hit me with your honest opinion on this because I'm with you, Steele. This is going to be a 7-game series, I think. And what I also wanted to say is I think this is clear in a way the 2 best teams in the Western Conference. And I'm kind of confident in whoever takes this series being that team to represent the West because they are both really good for different reasons. Anyway, alluded to it at length. Connor McDavid's got to be anytime goal. That's on my triple dip, and that is not my lock of the night, but it was very close to being. I think he's going to get himself a special night because they can't squander this opportunity here, Steele. They really, really can't. And McDavid's got to be huge. If they could take a game in Vegas, swing the momentum, and come home, exactly. So give me McDavid anytime goal. Second pick, I think it's going to be over again. Look, Laurent Brossoit has been holding it down, but this could easily be a game where I think I see another 5-4, 6-4, 6-5. Both goalies for the Edmonton Oilers have had their issues this year, especially Stuart Skinner of late. Whoever's in that cage, I see the Edmonton goalie giving up. What do you think is fair to say? At least 2 or 3. So that means over 6.5 easily. My lock of the night, though, I think the Oilers respond. I think they respond in a big way, and you're going to get a really good odd for the Oilers, especially because they're on the road. Maybe it's because I'm invested, Steele, but that's the triple dip. McDavid anytime goal, over 6.5, and lock of the night, Oilers on the money line.
I have to stay away from them. Like, I have the Oilers in 6, but I'm staying away from the money line on this one because the Vegas Golden Knights just looked really good. And I think both goalies obviously struggled in game 1, but Vegas just looked so good. Their depth charts were crazy.
Look,
I'm going to stay away from the money line in this game.
I'll go off.
I'm going to stay away from the money line in this game. I really don't know. I don't know who's going to win game 2.
Okay. Fair.
I'm with you on the over. It's going to be over 6.5. I like that pick as well. Whether it's Stuart Skinner or Jack Campbell, you could probably punch in that it's going to be over 3 goals for them. But yeah, over 6.5 for Vegas and Edmonton game. But I've got 2 player props. Number 1, Evan Bouchard, anytime assist. He's been lighting up the lamp, setting up the teammates on the power play. He's got 10 assists so far this postseason. That's actually
so good. He led the team in ice time. By the way,
he's been great so far this postseason. Definitely a guy who's going to head up the fantasy draft next year. So that's actually my lock of the night. But my second pick, and this one is a little bit more bold. So the odds are probably juiced up all the way. But Ryan Nugent-Hopkins needs to step up his game as well. He has 0 goals, 4 assists so far this postseason.
True.
I think he finally buries his first one of the playoffs. I think game 2, those players who are still stars but not named Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl, I think Nugent-Hopkins, I think Evander Kane needs to be a little bit better, and Zach Hyman. Those guys surrounded by Draisaitl and McDavid are going to step up in a big way. So I've got Bouchard anytime assist, Nugent-Hopkins anytime goal, and over 6.5 in that Vegas-Edmonton game.
I totally agree with everything that you're saying, and I think at the end of the day, now that we are in this second round, this is probably something that's been said on TV before, so I'm really not trying to take it as something that's an original one. Game 2 is like the most pivotal game, in my opinion, that can really turn the tide of a series that seems to be going one way or another. We don't know what's going to happen in game 2 for the Toronto Maple Leafs, and I think that this is really going to be pivotal for them as well. We're going to talk about Leafs. We got lots more coming up next week. I think Steele and I are going to have to get a couple of special guests on next week as well.
Yes, sir.
Switch it up a little bit. We got bets. And we're going to start teeing up next season's draft, Steele, because we're going to break down every position. We're going to break down rookies, veterans, and every single angle that you need to rule your pool. So make sure you keep it locked and tapped to the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast.
Yes, sir. And we'll also have some fantasy player grades as well in the offseason.
Yes,
grading some future and current fantasy players. Yes. And thank you so much for making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast your first listen every single day. Make sure you're tuning in Monday through Friday, 7 o'clock in the morning Eastern time is when you can find our episodes. And again, thank you so much tuning in for today's episode and every single day. Have a great day. Good luck with all your bets out there. And we shall see you back here again on Monday.
Peace.